Live? Can you hear me? Is everything working? Have I actually got little gremlins put to one side for once? Could this be a first? I wonder. Now, I am just checking to see if I can actually see the live video on my phone in front of me, because as I'm going to be making today, I won't be able to look over and see comments, but I might be able to if I can see. Yes, I think I am live. I think I am live indeed, except now I can hear myself in duplicate and that's not any good. So let's cause that. Right, well, welcome to spring and minus temperatures over in the UK. I couldn't believe it. The sun has been so beautiful. You might have seen the photo that I posted earlier on today. Enrique and I went out for a lovely walk up a hill, a nearby hill, which was just super. And oh, but it was bitter, bitingly cold. Anyway, so here I am. So today, do you know, I've just not really been thinking about, or I've not had a clear idea about what I'd like to make or who I would like to make today. But I'm thinking that, well, I've been live now for just over a minute and I'm not sure if, right, I think I've had a couple of thumbs up, a couple of likes, brilliant. I can't see if there's any comments as yet. So I shall just carry on and speak to myself as I usually do and blether away quite the thing. What I thought I might do today is make a skunk. I don't know why, haven't made a skunk for a while, but why not? Why not make a skunk? So yes, just let's see how they goes. I mean, I have a balloon skunk to make at some point, but let's excuse me. Do you know, I'm a wee bit hoarse. I was singing so much over the weekend. So I was had a rehearsal last Tuesday. Then I was singing at a service on Thursday, and then went to a concert on the Friday. But I wasn't singing at that. Then I had a rehearsal and a service on Saturday evening, and then I was singing at like a ridiculous 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And then I won't say accidentally, but I was singing in a second service at a different church later on in the morning on Sunday, and then in the afternoon was singing with friends and playing some music as well, some trio sonatas. So that's really why I took yesterday off, because my voice was just no good to anybody. It's still a wee bit hoarse. I've not spoken to anybody apart from Enrique today, so do forgive my rather rough voice, and I don't even have a full cup of tea. I've got a little bit left, but anyway, blethering, some things won't change. Right, I am going to make a skunk, so hopefully you will be able to see. I am just cutting 10 grams of clay for the skunk's body, and then the tail gets done separately. So that is oh yeah, okay, so there's 10 grams for the body, and the tail will be 3 grams. So just making sure that I have enough clay for that. Now, I've no idea whether I'm actually, oh, I think I can get some comments now. Brilliant! We have, right, I'm just going to carry on weighing this, but just to say hello, we've got MJ from San Diego. Hello, Mary Jo. Lorna's on the line. Fantastic. Sarah's here too, as is Tabitha. Wonderful. Hello, Tabitha. And Anne-Marie is as well. And Pamela, you've made it too. Hello there. Wonderful. It's so nice just to see you all again. Because, you know, I see you popping up and I see your comments on the group, which is wonderful. But, you know, there's something really quite nice about being able to interact in a live way, which is what we're doing now. Oh my word, my voice is really... it's pretty rough. Yeah, we even managed to do, I'll tell you this, you may be aware of Handel's Messiah, and the most famous part of Handel's Messiah is the Alleluia chorus. Well, we were singing the Alleluia chorus with 6 voices. That was it. It was going to be 4, but we managed to get another couple of long at the end. My goodness. Yeah, that we managed it, but my goodness, it was yeah, I think Alleluia choruses are normally sung with, you know, about sort of 120 strong choruses. So to do it between 6 of us, yeah, we were singing our little hearts out and singing our little socks off, and so my voice is very rough at the moment. So Anyway, right, I am just conditioning a little bit of black clay to cut for the paws. And yeah, the thing is, right, so skunks, they're gorgeous and they're really cute. But black and white clay do not mix well, as a general rule. They really don't. And so I have to be incredibly careful when I am working with black clay, because already my fingers are just, you won't be able to see it very well, but my fingers have already got lots of black pigment on them. So it is a bit, lots of wet wipes are always employed when it comes to just making skunks, and penguins actually, for that matter. Although they seem to be a little bit more manageable. I'm just reaching for one of my little circle cutters. So these are paws, 4 paws, and also I need the ears as well, because skunks have tiny, tiny ears. Well, the pictures that I've seen anyway, the ones I've seen, do have tiny ears. Now, I don't know, have I got anybody else on the call? Do shout and forgive me when if I don't see it immediately. It's always good to catch up with everybody later on. Anyway, so paws and ears are cut, and what I will do, yes, I'm going to just give my hands a bit of a wipe and roll out on the thinnest setting of the pasta machine. I'm going to roll out some of the white clay for the stripes, and where all the little stripes go. But oh yes, I tell you, just the black clay bleeds so much. I've never found. I mean, female professional probably bleeds the least, I should say. But it's still, difficult stuff, and you've got to make sure that the rolling pin, my little acrylic roller, is also as clean as possible, because the colour can transfer onto the roller as well, as sometimes I forget, and then I'm rolling out red and then I roll out white and then the white goes pink, and that's all a bit of a pain. Yes, the colours which bleed the most are red and black. Strong colours which, just for whatever reason, they aren't as colour fast with polymer clay. I don't know why, but there you go. Right, so I'm just doing this now so that I don't handle the white clay very much at all, if I can. Because if I was doing this having rolled out the tail and the body, then I would have grey instead of white, which would be no good whatsoever. That would not do at all. Anyway, right, so lightly conditioned, and it's actually been really cold in here today. Now normally, I'm very proud of the fact that it's so warm in here that I need to put the air conditioning on. Well, not today, poor Yorick, alas poor Yorick. I've actually had a little fan heater, or a little radiant heater at my feet. It's been very cold here. When I say very cold, it's all relative, but for England, for Britain, it's been very cold. It must have been about 1 or 2 degrees centigrade, so not that cold, but the wind chill, my goodness, that really turned it very, very cold at all, completely freezing. And of course we were up a hill, so it got even more cold. Right, I have now just rolled out some skunk stripes, but in a very basic form. Right, enough wittering. So I'm now going to condition the black clay, and this is the thing, clay is so sensitive to temperature, and normally the temperature in here is so good. It can sometimes get too warm, which makes the clay go very soft and can be unworkable if it's quite a soft clay anyway. My current batch of Fimo sparkly white, the glitter white clay, is almost unworkable, so I really have to work in a very cool temperature to make that, to make it, not massively annoying when it just squishes into a little heap. Sometimes, some clays are really tough. They don't have an awful lot of I suppose it's the elastomer, or the elastic, or the polymer, which makes the clay sort of more malleable. Some have too much, some have too little. I know they should all go through a process, and I presume sort of a testing process. And I presume that they all have tolerances within which the amount of polymer or how easy or difficult the clay is to work. There will be a range within which is deemed acceptable by the manufacturers, but there is a huge difference, as anybody who works with polymer clay will be able to tell you. It's yeah, it's something that I have learned a lot of over, gosh, how long has it been? 10, 12 years of, oh, oops, sorry, just dropped dropped my roller, because I've got I'll need to take a picture of my setup, because now I've got my little webcam perched on the edge of the desk, and then to just immediately to its right I've got a microphone to make it easier to hear, because otherwise my microphone would be on the laptop and I don't think you could hear me very well at all. Not necessarily a bad thing in some cases, but there you go. Right, so once again I'm trying to form a ball with as few air pockets as possible, and you get to learn to know where they are. And even before I've started rolling it, then I'm just pinpricking them with the edge of my scalpel to make sure that it's as bubble free as possible. Right, here we go. So, and I don't know whether you probably won't be able to see that, but I now have like little black, it gets worse. If I'm making like a lot of penguins, say, then my hands are just, oh, it's horrible. It's really horrible. So now I'm just creating the head part, the body part, and because the little skunk has got such a cute little nose, so I've got to make the head fairly small, actually, by comparison. That's the other thing, proportions. A lot of people, particularly making realistic creatures, and I know I haven't made any for a while, but when you do, people tend to, and I've done this myself, make the heads too large. It's because all our attention is always on the eyes and the head and the ears. So a lot of people, when they're drawing or making little animal sculptures, will make the head too big as a result. It's, if you actually measured the size, the relation of, or the proportion of the head size to the rest of the body, the head's only about a fifth of the body shape instead of like maybe a quarter or a third that you might think it is. So it's important, I've found it important anyway, to make sure that the head is not too big, not too small. It's got to be the Goldilocks size, the Goldilocks proportions, where it's got to be just right. And of course, this little skunk is going to have a tail as well, so I can kind of make his body come in a little bit at the back, a bit more, because I'm going to actually attach his tail separately. And I'm just shaping with my fingers. I very rarely use my clay shaper to blend clay, but when I'm actually sculpting, it's all with my fingers. And I know some people, I've seen this, some people actually use gloves when they're sculpting. I don't know how they do that. I mean, that may cut down on fingerprints. It may make it, and obviously colour bleed. But, oh, I just like the tactility, if that's a word. The tactility of actually touching the clay and just feeling how it goes. It's interesting. Anyway, that's the basic body shape. I'm going to now, I'll reach over and get my ball shaper, and I'm going to just create a light impression where his eyes are going to go. So this is almost like making the eye sockets, and then blending out the depression. Would that be the right, where I've marked them, basically, just so that it doesn't look as though somebody stuck a ball shaper into his eye. Oh, poor little soul. Poor little soul. But yeah, he's starting to look up at me now, and he's starting to feel like a skunk. You might think, what is she on? But as long as I can picture the creature that I'm making, and then the rest of it just seems to follow. It sort of seems to just fall into place, basically. Right, I'm going to mark his hind quarters, because he's going to be sitting upright, I should say. And again, this is just one of these, I think it's called I think it's a doll maker something anyway, whatever it is. It may just be a clay tool, another clay tool, but it's invaluable and I use it so much. And what I'm trying to do here is to get the haunches broadly even. I'm sorry, I still can't I can't read whether there have been any more comments, so forgive me. According to my phone, I have one person, I think, no, 13 people, 13 of you are watching this, yay, and that includes me, so that means 12. Oh, I wonder, we must try, I know I talk about this every week, I think, but we must try the rooms and see whether that is a better option, because that would probably mean more interaction. You guys could speak to me rather than me talking at you, which is not always the best of ideas. Right, so that's his legs. And what I'm going to do is kind of try and bend him forward a little bit, because his tail will sort of steady him up. It'll come round as a curl. So he can be a little bit off centre. I'm not sure whether that's possible to see from there. Maybe not. Not sure. Anyway, so that's the basic shape, body shape. I'm now going to mark where his eyes are going to be. Oh, there's a bit of flob at the end of that. There we go. And then it's down to that. Oh, you know how I do it. You know how I pick the eyes. It's into my. Do you know this live thing is not actually showing at all. I hope you can see all this and it's not just frozen. We shall see. Thumbs up if it's all working. Actually, let's go back onto my laptop. Oh, we have some more. Excellent. Alison, you have said webcam and microphone are both working really well. That's very good to know. Emma, you're here too. Hello and happy birthday to your grandma again for the weekend. That was a lovely photo that you posted. And oh, Dawn's here as well. Hello, Dawn. Yes, rough voice. I'll try not to ham it up too much. Right. If my mug gets in the way here, apologies again. So I'm just picking out 2 eyes from the black onyx beads that I have. Right. And I think Anne-Marie, I saw a question about a snow skunk. That'd be really sweet, wouldn't it? Yes, well, did I make a skunk with a jumper on? I'm not sure that I did. Cozy wee jumper. Maybe I should make a skunk with a jumper, because I think skunks are historically are known to be hot weather creatures. I think they're only found in warmer climes, and it's certainly not warm here today. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll give him a little jumper to wear. That'd be quite cute. Right, so I'm using my needle nose pliers just to position the eyes and then put away the beads, as I have learnt to do. I'm sure I've said this to you before, but I have cowped that tub so many times. Cowp, old Scottish term for basically tipped it over. Like, seriously, just beads everywhere. I have been on my hands and knees before picking up these tiny, tiny little beads. It's and not just the tiny little beads, but all the flob and the fluff that's on the floor is horrible. So I am very, very careful about my beads now. I just make sure that they are put away as soon as I need to. Right, so I'm just using my clay shaper just to get the eyes looking good. Now, skunks have more narrow faces and lovely little squishy noses, so you see he's starting to come together now, which is good. Now I'm going to just give him pause, because he feels like he's wanting to do that. He feels like he's wanting to tip forward and fall on his little nose, and no, let's not do that. So just shaping his hind paws for sitting on. All his forepaws are the same dimensions, cut with the circle of the same diameter. Let me put it that way. do you know, sometimes if I do not concentrate and think, and I'm just trimming, and I've just realised I haven't got I've got some liquid clay. I shall use that. I'll put that over there, and then a little bit of liquid clay, and this is just to secure the join a little bit more, and actually I shall roughen the edges a bit, and that will help the join as well. Okay, so that's one back paw in, and the other back paw. There we go. All right, so now he feels a little bit more comfortable, although he's leaning forward because his tail will be coming in. Oh, he's got quite, he's got such, because he's leaning forward, kind of looks really eager and, you know, like can't wait to get going. So I'll just mark his toes, and same on this side, and this way it can kind of bring the toes to a slight point, because and some of the clay actually comes out just a fraction, and it's almost like little claws. Again, it's sort of less is more. It's the whole suggestion is pairing. For me, I realise I can kind of capture the essence of a creature but with not very much. So it's kind of a caricature almost, but a recognisable caricature. I mean, that's supposed to be the mark of a good caricaturist, a good cartoonist, is if you can recognise the subject with very, very, you know, just a few brush lines or a few pen lines. And that's kind of what I aim to do. I don't think it's intentional, but I think that's how I've always done it. So it's sort of finding what a wee creature looks like, what's the essence of the wee creature that I'm making, and then being able to create that without going into too much detail, but then that creates its own detail, if that doesn't sound a bit weird. Anyway, I'm now conditioning the clay for the tail. So, and it's usually between 2.5 and 3 grams of clay that I'll use for this. And I have recently discovered a much better way of actually giving him his stripy tail, because again, white and black clay, well, it mixes only too well, put it that way. So now I'm just I'm going to actually create the tail straight to begin with, and then I can curl it once it's got its once he's got his stripes on. So I'm kind of flattening it with a slight point, just a blunt point towards the end, but I'm keeping it straight at the moment. Who would have thought that a skunk's tail could look so cute when it's straight? But there you go. Right, now I need to try and get rid of some of the black clay that's on my fingers. And you probably can't see this as well, but if I had time, I would go off and scrub my hands and fingers with a nail brush. It's the only way to try and get, because the black clay goes right into your fingerprints, you know, your the finger, well, what do you call them, finger pads, I suppose, but you know, you can, it just highlights all the ridges and the whorls of your fingerprints. It just gets in there. Oh yes, I would not be well advised to go out and commit a crime, because people could find me no problem at all. Right, so now to get his markings in. So he has, little skunks they have like a little dash down into the middle of the forehead, a little circle on the head, and then a little dash down the front. So what I will do, I'll use the smallest Kemper cutter. Actually, no, I need to have a slightly larger one than that, probably. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm using my mid-size cutter for that. That's fine. So this is going to go on his head. And this is where, because I want to get the clay as thin as possible, which means sort of, I've rolled it out on the thinnest point, but I'm squishing it, or squashing it down. It'll make it a little bigger. So once I've squashed it a bit more, then I'm going to cut it again. And that makes it even thinner. You see? Et voila. Right, this is where working in cooler temperatures is definitely a good idea, a good thing. Right, so I'm just placing that lightly on his head just now. So he's got his little top knot on. And then for his actual little round, little dash down his nose, it is a tiny, 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 tiny bit of clay that I need, because I'm going to try and shape it so it's like a teardrop. Well, that's not the right word. No, it's like pointy at both ends. What's that word called? What's that shape called when it's like a... I'm sure there is a proper word for it. But once I put that on, I'm actually going to flatten it with the edge of my my clay shaper, and this helps blend the clay, stick it to the the two bits of clay together, but also then just brings it in so that it's not just, he doesn't have a bit of stuck on clay on the top of his head. But because I'm doing that, because I'm rubbing it to my fingers, etc., guess what? The clay is now a nice mucky grey. So it's just trying not to touch the black clay and the white clay at the same time. This is why I will make skunks and penguins. I'll do them in a batch. I'll do them all, as much as I can at the same time. Now, what I need to do now is to get his two back markings. So skunks have a line round here and a line down here. So it's on either side of the spine that it comes in. Now, I'm going to leave the longer section for the tails. But what I'm going to do here is I'm actually stretching the clay. Gosh, it's nearly 9:30 already. No, 8:30, I should say, already. Right, well, I'll get as much done of him as I can, and then I'll share him with you. I'll finish him off tomorrow, and you can see the finished item, or the finished skunk. He's not an item. I'm sorry. That's why he's got his back to me. So this is where you can really get the clay very, very fine, and it takes on, I've shared this with you before, it takes on almost a papery quality when it's stretched that thin. It stops being as sticky. It's amazing stuff. I just love it. There's so much to know about it, but you've got to be very, very delicate as you're sort of teasing it, almost like kind of just stretching it, but not pulling it too far. If you pull it too far too much, then it'll just tear. But that has actually like almost doubled in length. So this will make it easier. Again, I'm not going to have a big slab of clay stuck on the edge of him. That's what I really want to avoid. So this is freehand cutting now. So this is where I'm kind of cutting the edges or his side stripes. They will tuck under him. And if I do it on both sides, this is actually how I cut guinea pig markings. So if I'm making guinea pigs based on a particular pattern, then or with specific markings. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on this, so I'm kind of blethering and stopping myself. Anyway, so yes, so I will actually cut out freehand the markings and then apply them in exactly the same sort of manner. So it's again trying to keep them thin and making it as well. I'm trying to do two markings which are roughly the same here. So, right, oh my goodness. So the one side, it comes up to the top of his little, and this is where I find out if I've cut enough, and I have just enough. And I can actually stretch this a little bit more, and I can curve it around so it comes under his bum. There we go. So it's really about using your eye to judge where it should go, using your fingers to create the right length, making them as symmetrical as possible, and trying not to over touch the white clay and the black, and trying not to sort of blend them or finger them too much so that the white clay gets dirty. And here, because I'm trying to kind of again curve it round so that it comes under his bum, you see? Now it's slightly split at the top, but that can be sorted with just a few bits of clay shaping and just making sure that the clay is brought in together. And then I can just use the clay shaper, which is much easier when it's thinner. It doesn't take so much, and it doesn't distort so much when I can roll it on here. Okay. So now he's got his stripes in the back, and I can actually move the clay a little bit just with the metal surface, so that can actually patch up that slight tear that there was. It's phenomenal stuff. It really is. So, right, onto his tail now. So I need 3 thin stripes for this. Actually, I'm going to see if I can get it from this, because this is stretched thinly as it is. Yeah, should be able to do that. So I discovered recently that the best way to get straight lines for the tail is to cut 3 straight lines. And this is very thin, so it's starting to kind of distort a bit at the corners. There we go. So I may have to do this. Yeah, that bit's that distorted too much, that bit. Right, okay. I shall use actually this, and I'll get neater lines. I can use my tissue blade. So I just want 3 parallel stripes, roughly the same width, but they need to be thinner than this. This, although I've rolled through the clay on the thinnest setting, is still too thick. Now this means that it'll be way longer than I need to be, but it will be much easier to blend them in as it is. Now I give skunk's tails get 3 stripes, 1 in the middle, 1 on either side. So the end just needs to be lightly brought in. I've not looked at comments for ages, so I don't know if anybody has said anything, so apologies. And now I'm just draping that, pulling it again just to kind of thin it down even more without splitting it. So that's 1. Same thing, without getting any white clay elsewhere. Same thing for the edges, for the sides. So just pointing in the tip of the line, the stripe. And the good thing, this is where I learned about doing it whilst the tail is straight, because it means you can get a much neater line for the side of the marking. You see? And that, I'll just nick it off with my finger there. There we go. So that's side stripe 2. And then side stripe 3. Same trick again, just lightly pulling it. Oh, or that happens. I was just demonstrating to see what can go wrong. So I'll just do same again, cut off a little bit, and just stretch it till it's done. Now I want to curl the tail before I finish. I'm conscious that we're after time now. It's 25 to 9. But it'd be very good if I can have at least the tail attached to the skunk, because then he's a skunk. He's a proper skunk. And that makes all the difference. So again, I'm just lightly, very carefully and very gently teasing the clay so that it's longer. And then the same thing again. So I'm just putting that up to the end. The stripe is to the end, and then it's just coming along as straight and as evenly as possible. Because if you try putting the white lines on a curve, it gets a bit messy. It's never the neatest or the same sort of neat finish as you can get doing it this way. So there's another, see, white, it just gets everywhere basically. And then same thing again, you're just wanting, I'm just blending in the clay. Now the trick of the skunk tail is to curl it when it's still quite warm, because then it's more pliable as well. Right, so I now have the skunk markings, and this is where I would have gone off and scrubbed my fingers again to make sure that there was no colour overlay. The good thing about this, once the clay is baked as well, I usually scrape off the top layer of clay as well, and that reveals any, it takes off any baked in clay, dark clay, bleeded colours, and it just refreshes it, makes it much brighter, because the wet wipes are fine, but I think they also, you know, they lift the colour as well, and then you can transfer it onto whatever colour you don't want it transferred onto. Right, so I'm now getting the tip of his tail is going to tuck under, and again this is a very hands-off experience as well, and the tail needs to be curled into, so it's not tightly curled, it's not it needs to still have space between it, and you can see how it makes such a difference. It's much neater, the having the white line and doing it the way I've just done it basically works much better. And what I'm doing now is just flattening the end so that it can sit under his tail. That'll create a good join. And I will just bring out my, this wonderful, what's it called? The medium extender. I'm sure you all know it better than I do now. But this is a good way, it's the best way I think of joining raw, uncured clay, is to use this stuff. It cures with heat, but it's given a very, very strong, it's great stuff. Right, so that's him basically in place. And what I often do is put one of my signature, a slice from my signature cane, which is all very tiny, and I often put that on the join with the tail because that strengthens it as well. So I'm pushing the clay in there. Now, poor little thing doesn't have his ears yet, and he doesn't have his head, his arms, his paws, but it's a good start. It's a good start. So I think I should probably leave him there and come back to him in the morning and finish off his ears, finish off his arms, and yeah, then we'll have a little, and then I'll put his jumper on after that. Yeah, I think a little a wee cozy skunk will be a very cute thing to have. So shall we leave it there? Let's see if you can you see him okay? See how he's starting to come along? He's very cute already, even though he's kind of well, I can kind of imagine him he's trying to cross his arms. He would cross his arms if he possibly could, but he can't yet. So he's just going to have to stay like that until the morning. So, thank you very much for joining me. Sorry it's gone over, but I hope that has been interesting and fun, and it's always been good to have a good blether. I have absolutely no idea what I've said. I know I've talked a lot about skunk tails and bleeding colours and all that sort of stuff, but I hope you're all well and you've all had a lovely weekend, and I shall see you in the morning. All right then, speak to you soon. Bye.